Hi, thanks for clicking on this video. Normally I'd be saying welcome back to the workshop, but today I'm standing in the office. These wall boxes behind were a project I did for my wife. This video is how I went about them. My go-to material for a project like this would have been birch ply, but as the price of birch ply has gone through the roof, I'm going to use oak veneered MDF this time. I begin with cutting the boards to width. I want to keep the grain running the length of the cut so that it wraps around the box. Next I swap to my 45-degree cross-cut sled, cut a bevel on one side, flip the board over and then using a stop block cut one on the other side. The table saw makes light work of this, and yes, I'm wearing a mask because that MDF dust is pretty nasty. I repeat this a number of times as I'm reusing side dimensions on various boxes, but I still have to keep track of how many I've cut. Once I've got all my sides cut, 36 in total, I'm going to need a slot in the back of each board to accept some plywood for the back of the box. I run all 36 through the table saw, leaving an 18mm or 1/4 inch gap at the back for a French cleat. Nudging the fence over, I lock it in place and take a test cut and check for size. It's a perfect fit. Now I've just got to run all 36 boards through the table saw again just to give that extra width for that piece of ply. At this point I decide to give the insides of the box a coat of satin poly varnish and then set them aside to dry. To glue up the sides, I lay them out on some felt to protect the varnish and then use masking tape to hold the sides together. The straight edge of a ruler will help me line everything up. Then I flip it all over, do a quick test fit just to make sure. Better to do this now than have glue everywhere then realise I've made a mistake. Now for the glue. As most of these boxes are going to have little weight inside them, glue alone should be enough. As MDF and plywood are stable materials, I can glue the back in place, so I fill the slot with some glue. Once all the glue is spread out nicely, I wrap it around the plywood back and then tape it together, checking for square. Once everything's taped up, I can then set this box aside to dry and then go on to the other 8. To face the raw MDF edges, I ripped down some oak from a previous project. These are a fraction over width so I can plane them to fit later. I really do need to make a zero clearance insert for my table store to stop the thin strips disappearing. Then on the chop saw, I miter each one to the correct length. More gluing up now, using my favourite Type 1-2 again and my trusty glue brush. A little close up and a wipe with a finger. The edge banding then gets placed on. Each piece you see has been cut to length correctly, making sure the miters line up nicely on the corner. Then I use more masking tape to hold these in place while the glue dries. Once dried, I can then use a plane to remove the excess, and as you see, that join almost disappears. To hang the boxes, I'm going to use French Cleats. Now for those of you that don't know what a French Cleat is, it's 2 interlocking bevels. One piece is mounted on the wall and the other is attached to the item you're hanging. I rip down the leftover MDF and then use my pocket hole jig to add some screw holes to fix the cleats into the back of the box. First hole I drilled, I forgot to turn the shot back on. The second one I did, and you can see there's a lot less waste coming out the hole. These are now glued and screwed in place. Probably a bit of overkill, but at least they're never going to fall off the wall. I was a little worried about the strength of the larger box, so I added some pins for reinforcement. I always check to make sure they're not showing on the inside before I finish the last hit with a hammer. These are then sunk below the surface with a punch, and a mix-up what I refer to as peanut butter. Basically it's wood glue and sawdust, and I use this to fill the holes. However, I don't recommend using this peanut butter on toast. This is then sanded down with the rest of the boxes. Now on to the final finishing, which means 2 coats of poly again, sanded between each coat. So here's some nice shots of me using a brush, spreading that poly out nicely. To start the mounting process, I hold a pencil in my mouth, point at my pad, then measure from the centre of the wall and make a mark. This is for the top row of boxes. Using a level, I then mark down from the top of where the box will to where the French cleat will be on the wall and mark for a hole. I drill a hole with my cordless but realise it's just not quite up to it, so then swap to my corded drill, which is more power. A couple of wall plugs are hammered in, then the wall half of the cleat is screwed in. As all the walls in my house are brick, I don't have to worry about hitting a stud for strength, so I can just mark the holes where I want. Checking to make sure it's level, I then fully tighten the screws. I do the will it hold my weight test, which it passes with flying colours. It's just a matter of mounting the other 8 cleats now, so cue montage of me drilling holes, checking levels and screwing in the cleats. And with the magic of YouTube, the other 8 are up in 30 seconds. If only it was that easy. And now onto the boxes themselves. Starting with the largest one first, and as you can see the painted back really does help blend it into the wall. I hang it on the cleat. One by one I hang them up, checking for alignment with the others. It's a very satisfying process. I've left a little wiggle room on the cleat itself so I can line the box up correctly. A quick modification to that box's hanging place. And with a flip of box number 9, they're all up. I really enjoyed this project and it's great the way it turned out. So thanks again for clicking on this video, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos from Kingston Lane Workshop. We'll see you next time.